You might be wondering why I'm wearing a mask. Computer-generated characters can't get sick. Well, have you tried lip-syncing an entire comedy routine? You know, when using models like this, it's really hard to decide whether the model is an avatar or her own character. Until you realize how fast you can run out of material. Like, I went to a dance class with Kagamine Ren, but every time I looked in the mirror, there was a weird guy staring at us. If you're not in the fandom, that was gibberish. Every reality show these days has a random plot line where a character just decides to be a stand-up comic. And I'm on my couch thinking every Tom, Dick, and Harry thinks that they can do comedy now. Of course, you might think that I'm one to talk, recording this set from the comfort of my bedroom, and to you, I don't have a car. But really, it's the seizures. Calling them random seizures isn't really correct since I got put on my anticonvulsants. Now I know that walking into some situations will just give me seizures. I'd walk onto the stage, the light would fall on me, and then I just seizure. Of course, it would just look like stage fright while I helplessly stand still. If I was lucky, a kind writer for a college newspaper would call my set brave and avant-garde. But no, seizures. Of course, a comedy club could set up an autism-friendly hour and I could go to town. But then I'd kind of feel compelled to use my autism. Have you ever noticed that African Americans and white Americans tend to act differently in specific situations? White Americans have a different hair texture, requiring them to care for their hair in a different manner. Yeah, I think it would kill at Autism Friendly Hour. But you heard your reactions. On televised talent shows, if someone does comedy with a disability, you know they're going to place in the top. Tell bad jokes with a stutter? America loves you. Do comedy with the MLG Daniel voice? You're getting shipped to America to sit down and deliver jokes with absolutely no inflection.
Aww.
I mean, it's cute. It makes able-bodied people feel good to see people with disabilities overcome their struggles. Until it's an invisible disability. Then your esoteric joke delivered in deadpan is just unfunny and weird. Of course, I'm sure some people would be offended that I'm calling autism a disability. No, don't read me for filth. I'm talking about my several other intellectual disabilities and mental disorder. But people play like every successful comedian needs depression and a crippling drug addiction to be funny, which is funny to me because my depression comedy is basically my autism comedy with more staring off into the distance. My favorite conspiracy theory is the no bullet theory. His head just did that. You're laughing now, but that's the first time I've gotten a laugh out of that one. Mania comedy is where it's at in my head, but you know, you kind of realize halfway through that everyone is extremely concerned for you. I ran some jokes I wrote while manic by the manager of the club. He read them, looked at me, looked at the paper, looked back at me, and he said, "May, none of this is funny. None of these jokes are okay to make." And yes, there is no club manager. Don't get me wrong, none of my jokes are necessarily dirty or inappropriate, but no one really wants to hear about, wait, he told me I couldn't say this one either. Of course, there's the magical time when I'm neither manic nor depressed, and I just have internet comedy, which is apparently really unfunny to most people. I mean, if you were raised online, the phrase, well, I guess I'll just die, is hilarious. But to anyone else, it's really concerning. And then there's the references that only my generation will get. But boy, do we really get them. Walk up to a 20-something and just say, "Enabi." there's a really good chance that they'll instantly reply with, "Dementia darkness way." Y'all would laugh if you were my age. And then there's obviously things that you can't decide if they're funny or not, and you're stuck doing mental calculus to figure out if it's funny, sad, or just not okay. Is it okay to make fun of Christine Weston Chandler?
Huh?
So there's this lady who created an entire world in her mind and lived it out through her art. I'm allowed to joke about that because of my psychosis. But is my psychosis, which I'm allowed to joke about no matter what, funny? I mean, I do get that blankly stating that sometimes witches show up outside my window isn't funny.
Aww.
To make it funny, I have to make up entire chunks of the story. It's not funny to say that I see a scary face in the mirror at night, but it is funny to say that Bloody Mary showed up and all I had for her was ketchup. Speaking of bloody, it's really rare to see humor targeted at women online. Humor targeting women is everywhere, though.
Aww.
And it seems like it won't get better. As you know, there's a universal truth. High schoolers will always be the funniest people on earth. They may have the comedic timing of a sloth and the joke structure of a chopped salad, but they will just keep trying and trying until they find what works. And that's real comedy. So when I see that the jokes teens are posting now are weirdly misogynistic, well, Noah, get the boat. Seriously, one of the most popular formats for teenage memes for a while was boys good, girls bad.
Aww.
But maybe the lack of female humor isn't exactly because of misogyny. Us women can be pretty wild when it comes to humor. I mean, my favorite joke I've ever heard in a stand-up routine was a woman telling a miscarriage joke. Yeah, and apparently you're not supposed to make dead baby jokes. Oh, the club manager warned me not to bring up copious amounts of blood. Well, I'm getting kicked off stage. I'm May Blythe. Have a good night and a pleasant tomorrow.